You're listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com.
This episode is brought to you by PropStream.com.
PropStream is one of the most trusted real estate data software solutions. PropStream benefits all real estate professionals. You can find properties and contact homeowners on the go with PropStream's mobile app. We offer free academy courses tailored to real estate investors and agents. Take advantage of our live webinar demos to learn the software and scale your real estate business. Visit www.propstream.com and sign up for your 7-day free trial to get more leads and grow your business.
Welcome to the Real Estate Rundown on REIA Radio with Owen Dashner
and Ted Kaasch.
What is going on, buddy?
It's been a pretty good week, man. Like in sharp contrast to the last few weeks, it's not been bad.
What has been so amazing about this week comparative to last week or any previous weeks?
Let's see. Well, minimal disasters happened this week, which is a good thing. But I got a contract on an accepted contract on a property that I'm selling. That's a 20-unit deal. I've brought it up before. Yeah. I didn't get the number I wanted. I thought I might bring up some numbers on this. It might be, interesting. So if you're okay with that, Ted.
Oh, of course.
This is your podcast after all.
Yes.
So I bought this
podcast.
I bought this property in Ralston, Nebraska, which is a suburb of Omaha. It's kind of like in the the new Midtown area. It's kind of South Midtown. Real popular area, older community, but a lot of people like living there. Just people don't move. Right?
Wasn't it ranked like the number one city you live in like a couple years ago?
I think so. Yeah, it's got some stuff going for it, but the thing is, like, the original downtown area is older, right? It was probably like post-war era was when a lot of the developments happened around there, and there's some 50s and 60s era, like vintage housing around there, right? And not a lot of new developments. So that's a challenge there, is that, like, you have families that have lived in that city and they like it and they don't want to move, but they start maybe aging a little bit or outgrowing their homes. There's not a lot of new developments around Ralston. It's kind of landlocked a little bit with, regards to housing stock.
I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't been able to annex that into the city of Omaha, because it's completely surrounded by us for the most part.
Right. So I bought this property. This is a 20-unit apartment complex, and it's 3 different buildings, but they're all it's kind of weird. They're all connected with a roof line. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I don't even know how to describe it. They did it that way, evidently. I found out after I bought it, so that they would have one roof structure, but they're not all one building. It's all like they have this weird roof line connected. Anyway, one of the buildings was built in the 80s, and the other 2 were built in the, I think, 60s and 70s. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. 20-unit property. There's a mix of like I think 2 or 3 studios, and then the rest are 1 beds and 2 beds. And these are not big units, so they're a little on the smaller size, but they rent really well, right? They rent pretty quickly. There's not a lot of turnover there. People like Ralston. And so when I bought the property, I bought it in 2021, if memory serves. 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. So I've owned it about like 3.5 years. I bought it for $65,000 a door, which ended up being $1.3 million. And I bought it using a 1031 exchange. So I had another property that I ended up selling, which was a 12-plex. So I sold that, rolled the proceeds of that over into this 20-unit property, increased the rent roll by almost double. And that's what I typically go for. So if I'm in a 1031 exchange into another property, basically you're taking equity out of one property and you're plugging it into another one. And I always look at it like, irrespective of the debt, if I can double my rent roll every time I do a 1031, that is going to really help me leapfrog into, other bigger properties and really exponentially grow my financing.
So are you going to
my finances?
Are you 1031ing this one, or are you going to pay the
I
taxes?
am not. I am going to pay the taxes. But
that's going to be a big hit, right?
It is, but this is the year to do it because I have a crap ton of carry forward losses. And that's from cost segregation studies that I've done. I bought let's see, what else have I bought? Cost seg studies. I had a huge loss in crypto that I harvested this year because it was a bloodbath. I don't know anybody out there that has had success in crypto or got in early. Good for you. I have not had a great experience with it. So I lost probably, I don't know, $50,000-$60,000 in crypto.
Well, and you got like 3 major construction projects going
big
on now.
Yeah, big construction projects where I've got a lot of write-offs. So this is a good year to do this sale, and I'm not going to be out of pocket anything, so I can offset the gains that I'm going to experience from the sale with my other losses. So anyway, I bought it for 1.3. I renovated about 11 of the 20 units, and so I sold it with the intention of leaving a little bit of meat on the bone for somebody else to come in and buy the property and be able to still do some value add to it, even though I did a pretty heavy lift with it. New roof, new HVAC systems in a lot of units, cosmetic remodels in a few of them, and then like full remodels in like I said, a lot, but probably 9 to 10 of them.
Would you say this was like a C-class property when you bought into it?
It's probably C-class, and it's probably right around the B range now. I mean, the amenities aren't like you would find in a normal 80s built maybe or 90s built vintage, where you might have a pool and stuff like that. This is a smaller 20-unit property, right? So it's not big enough to where you can justify having an on-site property manager. So I hired a third-party property manager. He actually found the deal for me off-market, closed it. He's managed it ever since I've had it. And Stephen Ward is his name with Exceptional Properties Group. He's been on the podcast before.
I just had a drink with him last week.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember the episode number, but real smart guy. He put together a real detailed pro forma for potential buyers. So he's been marketing this for me. And after a lot of back and forth, I finally have an accepted contract on it yesterday. Knock on wood. I'm hoping it's going to close. The buyer of it is going to be doing a 1031 exchange into this property. So I have I'm pretty comfortable that it's going to close here within probably 2 months. But, all told, by the time it all nets out, I ended up selling it for, at least what I have it under contract right now for, is about 1.68, I think. So not quite $400,000 over what I paid for it. And then I'll obviously have commissions to pay out, closing costs and so forth when I sell. So 3.5 years, I'm probably going to make, we'll call it $350,000-ish. Now I've had expenses that I put into this. I put capital expense into it, but I've had some cash flow and so forth. So I would say I'm probably going to gain right around $200,000, right? So that's 3.5 years that I've owned it, $200,000 appreciation, had some cash flow along the way, got a lot of deductions out of it. So this is a snapshot in time of what real estate can do for you. Now, this has been arguably a really good time during the early 2020s, but 2024 has not been good in general. 2023 was not great with interest rates doing everything they've done. So the timing on me selling this is probably less than ideal, especially being, it's October now. The interest rates have come down, but, like you mentioned on other episodes we've had, you've had a lot of people reaching out to you wanting to sell stuff. So that means there's less demand from buyers, more demand from sellers to get stuff sold. Right.
And that's even grown. I just had another 40 house package hit my plate recently. And so now I'm up to over 60 units available for sale. And luckily things are starting to come off of the plate, but people are liquidating right now.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to call this out because this is a real world example of what it's like to buy a multifamily. How did I get there? I started with a 4-plex, traded up into a 12-plex, traded that up into this 20 unit that I have right now, all through 1031 exchanges. Now I have, whatever I said, $200,000 gain net, plus the cash flow, plus depreciation, plus all the stuff that I've been able to do with it from a tax perspective along the way. And now, like I said, I'm going to eat basically the write-off or the tax hit on it, but I have a lot of losses to offset that. So this is a good year to do it. And this is a good tip for you. It's not what I had in mind for the golden nugget today, but this is a bonus mini golden nugget. Pay attention to that. So if you need or want to sell something, and you're going to have let's say it's a substantial gain on it, and you're going to owe regular income taxes on that gain or long-term income taxes, make sure you look at what's going on in your overall picture from a tax perspective in the given year that you plan on selling this, because it may pay off for you to wait either until the next tax year or to really like hit the pause button on when you're planning on doing this, because you want to do it in a year when you can offset your gains with other losses.
We talked about this a little bit last week, but I talked to my tax accountant when it was time to sell. Mm-hmm. And I sold a couple properties last year, and I was really expecting a pretty significant bill. But because I bought a electric truck at that time, I actually was able to get over $12,000 back in taxes.
Yeah, that's great. So, and, we just, as most real estate investors do, and we've talked about this before, that a lot of them file extensions. So a lot of times October is kind of the time when you're ramming in your last minute stuff to get done for tax purposes, and there's little things like that can really help the overall picture. And like, I would normally have tax bill because I've sold a couple of properties this year, and this one included or not included. And but it's been a slower year for me from transactional income, so my tax hit is not going to be as high as it normally would. But I think just looking at the big picture of this and timing everything so that it's not going to really bury you with writing a huge check to the IRS.
Yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned that you had a golden nugget. Do you want to get into today's?
Yeah, golden nugget. And this golden nugget is brought to you by Timber Creek Virtual.
At Timber Creek Virtual, we don't just keep your business running, we take it to the next level. Our virtual and executive assistants handle all the everyday tasks so you can focus on what really matters, growing your business. Need clarity on your financial performance? Our expert bookkeeping services keep everything organized, so you always know where your business stands. With our seamless transaction coordination, you never have to worry about the details. Just close the deal. We've got you covered with cutting-edge digital marketing, proactive lead generation, and expert acquisition management. Plus, we handle the cold calling and messaging too. Let us handle the big C work so you can handle your business. Visit timbercreekvirtual.com/services and see how we can make your business soar.
Okay, I thought of this actually before we had our interview, which is coming up in a couple of days for you with Katie Myers, and she's a real estate attorney extraordinaire and real estate investor. Well, she still has her license.
Oh yeah,
she's still extraordinary, Ted.
She is extraordinary, but not an active.
She's not an actively practicing attorney. She's basically like a attorney DIY now.
Yeah.
And but she was bringing up some things, and we were talking about, and you'll hear this on the episode Wednesday. We were talking about self-managing versus hiring a third-party property manager and like what that's like and all that. I wanted to bring up something, and this is something that I was thinking about the other day because I have at any given time I typically still self-manage between, let's say, 12 and 20 units that I've owned for a long time. I've rented them out and I know the tenants, like it's like in my backyard, and it's not a big deal for me, right? I get them leased, and for me, getting it ready to be leased and then leasing it is the biggest pain in the ass. Showing it, doing all the showings and so forth, but once you get that done, it's like, what do you have to do? I mean, somebody calls me and they're like, "Hey, my water heater isn't working." I'll call a plumber. Like, okay, here's my plumber. Call him, tell him to send me the bill. That's what I do. It's not a big deal. And like HVAC, plumbing, and I wouldn't even say electrical necessarily, but it's like HVAC, plumbing, and handyman. That's generally all you need to run a rental property, for more or less. I mean, there's exceptions, but that's going to be 90% of your calls that you're going to get is going to be those three things. But I was thinking about all the properties that I have that I still self-manage and how little interaction I actually have with the tenants. That's a result of me getting the property in really good shape before I'm listing it for rent, So everything pretty much that could potentially need, break, I've already gotten pretty much fixed to the point where it's almost a flip. So they move in, and I know I'm going to be maintenance free for the most part for quite a while. And then here's my golden nugget, the long-winded one. Self-managing, generally, you're going to save your, let's call it 10%. Would you agree with that? That's a good number, I think.
That's
ballpark.
pretty much the average right now. Yes.
Yeah, so 10% when you boil it all down, and now granted, it may be 6%, but they're going to have other fees and crap in there.
Some have flat fee.
Yeah, some have a flat fee at 10%, and it's all inclusive. And I have a property manager that's just like that. And others will nickel and dime you on different things, and you boil it all down, it's going to end up between probably 8 to 12%. But you get feed a lot on management. Now, what I've noticed over the years in managing a lot of these single-family rentals and small multifamilies is tenants are not going to call you because they don't want to bug you about little stuff because you're the owner and they know that. And they will fix things themselves instead of calling you. Like if it's a little annoying thing, like a piece of trim came loose or whatever, or a light bulb's burned out in the hallway or whatever, right? If it's a third-party property manager handling that, they're going to get every freaking call, right? Think about it. Because, like, if it's me, if I'm living in an apartment building or if I'm living in a rental house, if something little breaks, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to call the property manager. Hey, handle this. But if I know you, Ted, own the building and you rent it directly to me and we have a relationship, I'm going to feel bad if I call you and I'm like, hey, I know it's Friday night or whatever, but there's this annoying sound when the furnace comes on. I'm not going to call you because I don't want to bug you. And now granted, you could say, hey, but there's probably something wrong there and you probably want to get that call, but they're going to figure it out.
Unless it's an Airbnb.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yes, you have a different hat on than I do with this, for sure.
I got an Airbnb story to tell about that.
Okay. So, but my point is don't overlook especially when you're starting out. I think everyone should self-manage. Would you agree with me on that?
I do, especially you got to learn it.
Learn it.
Yeah.
Learn the basics. Learn the costs.
100%.
Learn what it takes to actually operate a rental property, and then make the decision. Do I want to outsource this and pay 10% plus all the other pain in the ass surcharge on there? That's a decision you're going to have to make. But I just wanted to highlight that because it's not just the 10% cost. It's actually way more than that because you're going to get way more phone calls, or the third-party property manager is going to get way more phone calls just for the sake of them being a third-party property manager. They're going to feel bad about calling you. And I have a lot of tenants I could show, I could debate this all day long. But I think you make a way more money than just the 10% premium if you self-manage personally.
So
that's today's
golden nugget. I tell you what, I've been looking about different ways to bring money in, and I'm not going to lie that I've been weighing back and forth if there's a value to just start my own property management company. I'm severely looking into it right now.
That's you're on the ledge, man. I feel like I need to talk you off, or yeah.
I just feel like I feel like with the proper systems, it can be done better.
I don't disagree with you. It just the thing that sucks about property management.
I'm just so mind blown by watching not just my property manager, but so many other people's property manager. I'm like, I don't understand why you're not using the tech.
Yeah,
to make this job easier or VAs. I'm just completely mind blown right now, and I'm like, I feel like I could just come into this industry and honestly, and I feel like I could come in and disturb it.
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up. I was not expecting this, but I'm going to debate you for a second on this. All right.
Please.
Okay, so I had a property management company in Omaha managing a lot of my stuff. Like they managed all my rentals for years, probably 10, 12 years, right? And they managed it, and they went to a model where I'm going to leave them nameless, but not a big fan. Mm-hmm. They went to a model where they hired a call center in Mexico to handle tenant requests, maintenance, that type of stuff. They basically had a call center model and not okay. Let me be clear here. I don't care what race or ethnicity or whatever you are, but be good at communicating. That's all. That's what really matters,
You answer
right?
every phone call.
Yeah, answer every phone call. Be clear in your communication, and so forth. The problem I have, and I know you're not necessarily describing what I'm talking about here, but the big problem I had with that whole model is they had no idea what my property actually was. They had never been there. They had never had boots on the ground. They had never gone in the property. So I couldn't call them up and be like, hey, property manager, you know how that in the utility room, the water heater is kind of close to the furnace there, and that's not blah, blah, blah. They're not going to get that. And here's what really pissed me off about this whole situation is I was never even informed that they weren't local. Like I was calling, I'm like, it didn't take much to figure it out, obviously, but I'm like, anyway, so they had like showings that were, they didn't have to have people there. So they would do basically a lockbox. They'd have people do the showings and whatever. And I don't know what the effectiveness of that is. I would personally much more like it if I was looking at an apartment or a house to rent, if nobody was with me. I don't want to be sold on it. I just want to look at it. I think I would like that feature, but I think there was a drop off in the amount of follow-up and communication with the potential, applicants. So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is there's a limitation to what tech can actually do, and there's a disconnect between the personal, touch of it. So
Okay, so
that's my caveat there.
I take that advice 100%. Like I full-heartedly. And so I think the way I would run it is there would be an AI part of this for tenant calls.
Okay.
And then there would be a VA opportunity for...
what do you mean? Oh, hang on. What do you mean an AI component for tenant calls?
Well, so like Magic Door, for instance. We met with Casper and talked to him. Their system is all set up to, hey, I need a service call on... tenant calls in, they need this service. Well, his system's all set up where you put in all your sources and contacts and knows the budgets for every property, and without calling, getting approvals, and it automatically contacts the person to get those service calls taken care of immediately. And it can be via text or email. That's how the system works. And then, but also there needs to be a live person system in there. So that would be a VA-based system, but they'd be my personal employees. And to counteract the fact that they've never been in the properties, then there would have to be a database system. So every property had a picture of every section of it, or even a full 3D walkthrough, so that they would have an idea of what they're actually talking about when somebody calls. And then on the aspect of showings, I know there's a company in town, and they actually will do the showing services for you and will walk the properties, because I do think that there's a value to having a sales side of that. And personally, I don't like the liability of somebody walking into a property that somebody isn't there to walk it.
Yeah, and in this particular case, I think they have a lock system set up to where the combo changes every time. So
I agree.
You can't just pass your combination out to somebody. I get it. I get it.
But I don't want that. And then if I was going to do this, my time would be into the relationship. Besides the training and setup, mine would be into the relationship management with the clients.
Who's your client?
The landlords.
Right. Yeah, I would just say, as a landlord, I don't like it when somebody doesn't know what I'm talking about when I'm calling about the property. Like literally, they have never been there.
So
and I can tell that right away.
Totally. And so
I don't like that.
So if I was to do this, the landlord would have my personal number, and so
right.
Any landlord conversation would be with me directly and not with anybody else.
Okay. Gotcha.
I think because if as a property owner, as a landlord myself, I think that's how I would like it done. And my biggest, I can't tell you how many times the communication comes up in any conversation with clients I'm working with or people I'm working with in general. It's all about communication. I'm now running a couple of my own Airbnbs, and I just got my what SaaS is that? Superhost.
Mm-hmm.
It's all communication based. I just had a raving review because of communication. And
raving like they were mad, or
no,
a rave review
rave
like
review.
They were happy.
It was a rave review. Sorry.
Okay,
a happy rave review.
Okay,
and I had a great review specifically on communication. I have, and the reason I'm having success with my Airbnbs currently is all in communication.
Yeah,
and that's where it is. That's where it lies.
Right.
And if you need to do a communication-based model, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this. It most likely won't happen.
So everyone reach out to Ted, and he is interested in managing your properties with AI robots.
I am nowhere near that. Okay. I'm just literally spitfiring. But it's on my head. I'm not going to lie, because I just feel like you need tech to make this better.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions. We have trillions with a T to lend. 844-WE-CLOSE or go online at jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
So speaking of communication, we were talking about like our weeks, right? So this today, which is Friday, we're recording this on, and you're going to be listening to this over the weekends. In 2 weeks? A week.
This will be
week and a half.
Week and a half, yeah.
Just closing on a property in Dundee today, which in Omaha is kind of a sought-after midtown community, very walkable. It's something that Katie Myers would really get behind. And we're taking possession today, and this is from basically an off-market lead that we got. So it came in through our website, which is a pay-per-click lead. And we're buying it, and the lady that we're buying it from is a principal of a high school, or several high schools actually. But she is thrilled with the fact that we made it so easy. She's super busy. She gets home at like 8 o'clock at night. She's, I think she's single or divorced, one of the two, but super nice. And she's trying to like get this done with minimal brain damage. And so we're like, hey, we'll buy it as is. Leave everything you want behind. You don't have to clean anything. Don't be embarrassed. Like, we've seen it all. You've lived here for 15 years, just lived in. It's not like this is a dump. Mm-hmm. It's a nice older home in Dundee that needs a little work. She is super psyched because she can leave behind whatever she wants, and she's already got plans to leave behind really like big ass furniture. Mm-hmm. So when you are dealing with a motivated seller, make it easy for them. Make it like hitting the easy button where you're going to be like, look, everything's taken care of. I don't care when you close. We'll close on your date. Leave behind whatever you want. And that, I tell you what, people gloss that over and they're like, oh, that's no big deal or whatever. It's a huge deal for people to have a lot of stuff, especially people that don't have a ton of resources or people in their life that can help them move it, or, they can't maybe afford to have somebody move it. So anyway, that's happening today. So we're getting possession of this house in Dundee. So that's exciting. We just listed a property in kind of the Midtown area around like Hanscom Park. That's pretty cool rehab that we did on this. New deck, new kitchen, new bathroom, cosmetic remodel. And got my 20-plex sold. So
that's a good week.
Good week, yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Magic Door.
Magic Door is the AI-powered property management platform designed to handle everything from the rent cycle to the vacancy and maintenance cycles. During the rent cycle, Magic Door collects rent, sends automatic reminders, deducts management fees, and distributes payments to owners. In the vacancy cycle, Magic Door streamlines listings, tenant applications, seamless multi-language communication, screening tenants, and converting applications into leases with one click. And for the maintenance cycle, Magic Door's AI handles everything, asking tenants key questions, assigning tasks to vendors, and scheduling repairs automatically without you getting involved. With no hidden fees, no onboarding costs, and seamless AI-powered automation, Magic Door takes care of the entire property management lifecycle so you can focus on what matters most.
Well, with all that being said, how about the upcoming podcast we have with Katie Myers?
So Katie Myers, just so you know, was a client of mine.
I didn't know this, by the way, before you told me today.
My mom does a lot of my real estate for me. And then my mom was helping me out with some of the deals. And then they totally clicked and done multiple deals together. Katie is was a local person, but then also went to Colorado.
So she's from Omaha. She went to Omaha Burke High School, then got her undergrad from KU.
Yeah, and then now she's a real estate attorney and also local real estate investor. Sold off her stuff that was out of state, put all her eggs in the basket here in Omaha, and super intelligent, very detail orientated. And I was super excited because it was just I follow the Investor podcast, and all of a sudden I saw Katie's name come up last year, and I'm like, what? Katie's on the podcast, and I was so excited. Like, God, we got to get her on this one, and I've been trying for a year to get her on here, and finally it worked out to get her on. And what do you think? What do you think about Katie?
Oh, super smart, very detailed. Talks a lot about how to get a good lease put together, right? So the talking about managing properties from a different market. So she talks about building relationships with property managers if you want to operate in a different area. And the one thing that really stood out to me is she has kind of some metrics that she uses loosely when she's evaluating investment properties, including the $500 a month cash flow number.
Yeah, her buy box.
Yeah, her buy box. I see what you did there. And but no, real fun conversation, very smart. She's obviously she's an attorney, so she went through a lot of schooling and applied that into her real estate investing career. She's also got a husband that's an attorney as well. And this is fun because, after spending so much time in your education and working in a grind type of a job where even the partners, like she mentions in the episode, are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week still, even though they've already been down the path of partnership. So she has leveraged her education and experience in real estate law into buying her own portfolio over time. And the cool thing about Katie is, if you're somebody that's catching this episode and you're not really wanting to blow up and buy 100 or 1,000 units and scale, this is a great episode for you because she's a mom. She's got 10-year-old twins. Her and her husband were both, dual income, no kids, and then they had kids and have ended up transitioning over into her working basically for herself as an attorney. So she does her own leases, and she talks about the importance of that. So I really like her story, and it's great for a lot of people out there that don't necessarily want to, buy.
I definitely relate with her because I'm not trying to be the billionaire investor as she mentioned or have hundreds or thousands of units. That's not my goal. I love the fact that she came out and she's like, I would like to have 20 or 30 units and then have a vacation rental in a ski area and on a beach. I mean, I'll be honest with you,
that's perfect.
That's exactly where I want to be.
Yeah,
I want that, and I want them paid off.
Mm-hmm.
That's where so I totally related with her on that, and I'm not hating on the people that have hundreds or thousands of units. I mean, I look up to those people and what they're doing, and I want to learn more from them. But that's not my aspirations are different than that, and I think everybody that listens to this has different goals in the end.
Yeah, and the beauty of this whole game of real estate investing is there's no one way to do it. You could have your own goals. You could have your own, targets, and you can still keep a job that you love. You can bail on your job and really go after real estate investing as a way to generate cash flow and wealth. Or you can do a hybrid and do some of each. You can self-manage. You can, hire third party. You can, do all kinds of stuff. That's why it's so I think, it'd be funny. I was thinking about this before we recorded today. I was going to ask you, so today, Ted, do you love real estate or hate real estate? Because it varies from week to week. But I would say when you zoom out of this, real estate offers you opportunities and things that very few other industries can, with regard to allowing for freedom of time and scale.
I'm hating real estate at the moment, but what I can say is real estate has provided freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I took a $40,000 investment out of my IRA in 2019, and I was able to make that almost to $1 million in equity.
Amazing.
I'm here right now with you.
Suck it, crypto. That was a little late.
Because of real estate. And so real estate has changed my life, changed my perspective on life, given me family life and time freedom that I didn't have before. So there's a lot of blessings that have come out of it, but it's also provided some of the most stress I've ever seen in my life. And kind of what we can interview with Katie, 2024 has been my worst, financial year I've ever dealt with.
Same.
Just to get really raw. And I'm not going to get in all the details, but it's just been a really tough year. And as a real estate investor, as an agent that's a real estate investor, working specifically with real estate investors, I should say, every election cycle is the worst year for being an agent specifically working with real estate investors.
Yeah, that's weird. I never thought about it ever until like we started talking about that recently, and it's weird, but yeah, I mean, you can't discount that.
In this April, I've been in this business for a decade, and I will tell you right now that based on what I've seen in the past, I probably will have the best December I've ever had in my life.
Boom. Well, that's great
because everybody's holding off right now to see who wins the election, and then that whoever is really pro that party will be buying a ton of real estate from me in December.
Well, I hope so, man. I hope so. Personally, this is just my point of view, but I can't imagine. Like I could never imagine an election dictating what I'm doing with real estate investing. Like I don't look at any of that. I just look at the asset and the numbers behind it and so forth, and operate under the information that I have at the time. But you're not wrong.
I have a client list of over 300 clients around the country, and what I can tell you is that a person that is extremely involved with politics tends to back off on investing until their party is won.
No, I mean, that's fair. I can't debate that. I mean, you have more touch points with those people than I do.
At least for that particular election year.
Yeah.
Their opinions and stuff will change next year, but it's so front and center, and you have ads thrown at you in every which way. You have a million phone calls happening every day on your phone, which is so annoying.
Yeah.
And because of that, it spooks people, and they're like, and a lot of people just kind of like, well, I'm just going to hold back this year and see what happens.
Well, you people are weird, whoever you are.
Well, we're in Nebraska, and I would say that a massive amount of my client list in Nebraska is majority Republicans.
Well, yeah, go Big Red.
And so those investors will make their decisions based on if Trump wins. And then my clients that I have on the West Coast, a lot of those clients will make their decisions based on if Harris wins. And I tell you what, just to conclude this because we're kind of going long here. If I could do an interview with Trump and Harris at the table right now, and not ask one social question, just literally ask questions that are specific on economy. And my own, what I mean though, like I want to get into questions about real estate market and economy and get into their points. I would love that. I would love that.
I'm sure you would. You're a Politico.
I am. Honestly, I would give it completely fair, and I wouldn't fact check anybody. I would just ask them the questions and say, let them give their answers and let the fact check happen afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have a lot to say about this, but I'll sit on it for now.
We need to be like Alex Felice and just have a separate podcast on
The Rant. Just call it The Rant.
There we go. With that excitement, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you loved today's podcast on the Real Estate Rundown, and please leave us a 5-star review. And if you're listening to us on Rumble or YouTube, please like and subscribe and share it with somebody, because that's the biggest gift that you can give us here at REIA Radio, is sharing this with people that would enjoy the content that we're putting out.
Exactly.
And Owen, as always, it's great to sit across the table with you and shoot the shit. And with that, you guys have a blessed and amazing day. Bye.
She is, she texted me yesterday. This is getting back to your thing about communication. I've been very communicative. That's hard to say. After a old fashioned and a half.
Owen, communicative.
Okay. Well, whatever. Anyway,
I love I can actually do that to you, because you do it to me every.
We'll see. Hey, we'll see. We'll look it up.